Hello, we're going to try to use Google Books Ngram Viewer to figure out how often whom is used instead of who. If you haven't looked at Google Books Ngram Viewer before, you'll see this is a great tool. Basically, this pulls information from a lot of text, everything that's in Google Books, so that's a lot of text, including magazines, and it's all printed, published text. So that means that if we find something occurring frequently in Google Books Ngram Viewer, that gives us an idea that it must be fairly socially accepted, prestigious thing to do in writing. So as an example, what if I'm thinking of the verb dive and I've encountered the idea that maybe the past tense is regular, dived, or maybe it's dove. And I'm trying to figure out which one of those would be more normal in published writing. So I'm going to compare the frequency of he dived and he dove to figure out in this time period which one is more frequent. And look at that, it turns out actually both of them are pretty normal. So I think around here our intuition may be that dived would be more normal, but actually dove occurs quite often as well. So with this information in mind, I would use either he dived or he dove in my writing and be pretty confident that people would not, criticize me for it. So I quite often use Google Books Ngram Viewer in this way. Now, at the moment, we're interested in figuring out what about whom? So how often do people use whom and compare that with who? Now, this search isn't quite going to work. This does tell us that who is way more frequently occurring than whom, but that could be just because maybe we use who very often in subject position. Maybe many of these couldn't have been whom to begin with. As an example, we can take a look at over here. What are some of those actual examples? Well, some of this is just not relevant at all. They're relative clauses. Okay, here. So, who is my neighbor? That couldn't be whom anyway, so there's no point in counting that. What we would really want to count is out of the times when somebody could have used whom, did they in fact choose whom, or did they go with who instead? That's what we would like to know. So one thing that would help here is to look only for the ones that occur at the beginning of a sentence. So we can do it like this. This will find whom when it occurs. I'm going to capitalize that when it occurs at the beginning of a sentence, and this will find who when it occurs at the beginning of a sentence. This will help some, but still some of these are not going to be relevant. We will have included some number of items here that could not possibly have been whom. So my question to you is, what word could we put right here? If there is a true option to use whom, what word would occur right there? So let's put that there and there. And this would give us a comparison of, out of all the times when there is a true option to use whom, how many times do people take that option? How many times do they use who instead? So the question to you is, if the interrogative pronoun is a direct object, then what words would be likely to occur in this position? That's your challenge.